Well, Dr. Paul Bernal is a senior lecturer in IT, intellectual property, and media law over at the University of East Anglia, and he's written on government digital policies as well as surveillance law. He joins us now from Norwich in the UK. Paul, good to have you on the show. Now, everyone's talking about the adverse effects that this decision will have on the Chinese technology giant, but how do you think the company will react to all this, and will Google have its wings clipped as well?
Well, that's a big question, and I think we're at the early stages of a big kind of geopolitical fight, which is as much about economics as it is about anything else. This is a power games more than anything else, and I don't think we know yet. I think Huawei will be fighting very hard over the next 90 days to get another reprieve, another weakening, because this does matter to them. But underlying this is the much bigger question: who actually has control of the tech market? And seeing Google, well, Alphabet, respond shouldn't be surprising, because these are two of the biggest powers in the world, and they are fighting over what is an enormous market. What's interesting is, sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, what's interesting is that the underlying question of security, which is kind of almost the excuse for this, we really don't know the extent to which Huawei actually does undermine security, and we also don't know the extent to which any of the other tech companies do. And governments really need to be a bit more open about all of this.
Okay. You mentioned the tech market. A big part of the tech market is also hardware. We know that China mines a lot of rare metals that are used in the manufacturing of cell phones. In essence, our smartphones are sort of pocket-sized vaults of precious metals. So when we see the Chinese President Xi Jinping showing up days later at a rare earths processing plant, is this to show the United States that it has its own tech vulnerabilities?
Yeah. Very much. It's to remind them that actually they are reliant on China in all kinds of different ways. And this is not a thing where the US are the power and China are weak here. Both sides have a lot of leverage over the other. And how this works, it's really difficult to tell. But I suspect we'll see compromises on both sides and less change and less drama than we talk about. At the moment, just as the story with Iran, Trump is playing a big game here. He's talking things up, but in the end, there will be some kind of a compromise. The question is ultimately the economics are going to make more of a difference, and I think that's where the compromises have to come. Everyone is dependent on everybody else. Everyone wants a market to keep functioning, people to keep buying the stuff. And in order for that to happen, they need to cooperate and they need to compromise. Okay,
when we began our conversation, you had mentioned that we're at the very beginning of this. I want to take you back 30 years. When the World Wide Web was sort of invented in the 1990s, it was widely seen as a sort of a heralding new era of global cooperation and mutual understanding. What we're seeing now, is this sort of like signaling the beginning of a post-digital revolution now? What's your take?
Well, I'm not as sure it's exactly the beginning, because there have been signs of this for really quite a long time. To begin with, governments didn't really quite understand the internet, and they were kind of flailing around trying to work out what on earth they could do about it. They understand it a little bit more, but they're still trying really hard to control it when it's almost impossible to control. So they resort to their usual tools, which are money and threats. And the economic side of things is the big deal. The threats are mostly hot air, frankly, but the economics are going to be the big deal. Huawei makes billions, Google makes billions. They want to keep making those billions.
So show me the Benjamins. All right, Paul, great talking to you. I appreciate your insight and analysis.
Thank you.